Hey, my name is Orion Kelly. That autistic guy. Okay. On this video, and I'll admit it is kind of raw, I'm going to share with you why being autistic can make me feel like a horrible husband. Plus, I'll do my best to offer some tips on how you can ease the burden on the people in your life and hopefully cultivate healthier relationships. So, whether you're autistic or you're married or in a relationship with an autistic person, you don't want to miss this one. So let's go. Hey, great to see you again and welcome to the channel if it's the first video you've watched. I'm Orion Kelly, that autistic guy, and since my autism diagnosis later in life, I've devoted my time to advocating for the autistic community. And I do that through my podcasts and these YouTube videos. And my goal in mind is to raise the level of understanding, acceptance, and appreciation of the autistic community. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in being a part of, learning a bit of, well, I will be absolutely delighted if you would consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. And please, if you like the videos, like them, comment, share the videos, send them on to your friends and frenemies. And aside from the YouTube channels and all the social channels, the one-stop shop for everything you need, Orion Kelly, who needs that? is orionkelly.com.au. orionkelly.com.au. Go to the website. All the videos, all the podcasts, my blogs, details on me. You can even send me a message. So please check me out. Okay. So I feel like a horrible failure of a husband. This is not a joke. This is a genuine, real feeling. But more to that, I feel like a horrible husband because I'm autistic. In essence, I'm blaming being autistic for making me a horrible husband. Okay, well, let's do a quick disclaimer. Firstly, my wife does not think. For the most part, most times of the day when quiz, 9 out of 10 times, I'm 10% positive she doesn't think I'm a horrible husband. Second part of the disclaimer, I, as an autistic person, tend to not believe a single word anyone says about me if it's a compliment. If you say anything complimentary or positive about me, I automatically think, no, that's not true. Further, if you're looking for a toxically positive video on autism and how it's a superpower and a special gift and just awesome, then you've come to the very, very wrong place. You should go. If you want actual, genuine, lived autistic experiences that sometimes are positive and sometimes are detrimentally and offensively negative, then this is the video for you, my friends. The first reason that makes me feel, as an autistic person, like a horrible husband centers around communication. I've read that communicating your feelings, your needs, your wants, yada, 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 is critical to a healthy relationship. I accept that. But as an autistic person, as an autistic husband, well, I feel like a failure, like a horrible husband, because this centers around one of the major challenges of being autistic: interpreting verbal and non-verbal language. Being able to even interpret or acknowledge what I'm feeling, my emotions, my needs. I'm horrible at those kind of questions. How do you feel? I don't know. I feel a bit whoopy. What's whoopy? Verbal cues, non-verbal cues, body language, signals, voice tones, facial expressions. Pretty much everything revolving around communication and interaction is a challenge for me as an autistic person. One of the biggest things for a healthy relationship, communication, is my biggest challenge as an autistic person. That can make me a pretty bloody horrible husband. So may I offer you some helpful hacks to cultivate healthier relationships with the people in your life around the topic of communication. Neurotypical partners, when you share your grievances, your problems, your issues, your concerns, when you share those types of stories to your autistic partner, it is, in my opinion, for the most part, and certainly for me, our one and only goal to listen to those, and as soon as possible, as soon as our brain has calculated it, to provide you with a solution or a fix to that problem. This is absolutely my default setting. It drives my wife nuts. My psychologist tells me that people actually like to just talk to other people about, in my opinion, genuine problems that can be solved and fixed. They just want to talk about them and not fix them or solve them. They want to use their energy to talk about a problem that can be fixed, but they don't want it to be fixed. This is a thing. Super helpful hack. Autistic people understand that, for the most part, neurotypical people do not want you to fix or solve all their problems, even if they are outright communicating those issues, problems, grievances to you. They're just sharing with you because they want to talk about it. And neurotypical people, this is what I'm going to tell you. This is key. Neurotypical partners. It's simple. Start the story, start the conversation with. Now, I don't want you to fix this. You don't need to try and fix it or solve it. No solutions needed. I just want to share this experience with you, just to get it off my chest, and then tell the story. You're welcome. Other communication hacks. Neurotypical partners don't hint at things. It just agitates and frustrates an autistic person. Too much emotion, showing too much emotion, conveying too much emotion when you're talking to the autistic person in your life is appropriate sometimes, but a lot of times it isn't. It's just too much to process the words you're saying and to try and process the emotions that are coming out of you can in effect render both inoperable. In other words, you're talking to a wall. Just tell them openly and honestly, here's what I think, feel, or want from you right now. And the last thing on communication is autistic people like me may need more processing time. So these conversations might be counterproductive. Even if they're rational and calm, they still might not go anywhere or might go the wrong way because I might process it the wrong way, I might take it the wrong way, I might attack. The hack here, and this is what my wife does, and it works really well, from the very start of our relationship, if there's ever something that my wife wants to share with me, and it could be a positive experience or it could be something that's really angered her or frustrated her that she really wanted to explain to me or put on my radar so I understood why that did that to her, then she's written a note that was there in the morning, and she does this a lot. She emails me. It's given the opportunity to be open and honest, but also the processing time. Works both ways. The next reason why I think being autistic can make me a horrible husband, or at least make me feel like a horrible husband, is around intimacy. As an autistic person, it might just be my experience, maybe it's many people's experiences. I've always had a complicated relationship, a confusing, complicated relationship around intimacy. So, 1 minute I'm cool with touch. The next minute it's like I brush them off as if they were a deadly spider. 1 minute it's like it's okay for them to, put their hand on your leg or your arm or something. And then an hour later, it happens. And as soon as it happens, it's like the deadliest thing that's just got on me. Get off me. And clearly, these types of actions, these types of reactions as an autistic husband can give the impression to my wife that I am being cold or uncaring or lacking compassion. And potentially even worse than that, I'm simply disinterested. I'm no longer interested in my wife, which is absolutely not the case. But of course, if me being me, just me, has this effect on the people around me, it just makes me feel like a horrible husband. Well, why would I think I'm a good husband if I go, hey guys, what do you think of me? Well, you're pretty cold, uncaring, and you don't really seem that interested in us. I mean, you're like, not a good sign. And the kicker here is, as an autistic person, what I've failed to understand, what I've failed to acknowledge or even be aware of, is that physical closeness is just one form of intimacy. See, to me, when you say intimacy, I think, well, sex, right? Sex, being intimate. Turns out, not that I knew this, intimacy can be verbal. Intimacy can even be expressed through the doing of things. Yeah, I cut the grass. Intimate. Okay, so some helpful hacks on intimacy to cultivate healthier relationships with the people in your life, my friend. Listen up. For the non-autistic, neurotypical partners in these relationships, how about you show your autistic partner other forms of intimacy that maybe you appreciate. I also think it's important for neurotypical partners, you need to have open, honest conversations about sexual desire, sexual activity. Honestly, this shouldn't be an uncomfortable thing. Just be open and honest. And the last thing on this comes back to sex. And again, I get it. That's kind of my only real intimacy thing. You have to be really clear when, as a neurotypical partner, you're simply not in the mood. You're simply not interested in some sort of physical activity. Just be clear. But what's really important is be gentle, because autistic people can, certainly me, can be really sensitive to any kind of criticism or negative feedback. And you say no, we automatically think you don't like us anymore, you don't love us anymore, you don't want us anymore. I hope that makes sense. This reason that makes me feel like, as an autistic person, I'm a horrible husband, I think it's kind of common to autistic people. Do you ever, as an autistic person, get told by people, all you do is argue? You're always arguing with everything I say is wrong to you. You're always telling me, okay, let's talk about respecting differences. As an autistic person, it's my experience that I can find it really hard, really difficult to understand or accept differing thoughts or opinions. It sounds odd, but just think about that. Okay, so I can struggle to process, understand, and accept differing thoughts and opinions to mine. I can also have a sense, and again, this is an insight into me, it's obviously not true, but I also have a sense that I do have access to all the answers and all the solutions. And in fact, I can probably hear an issue my wife has, and quicker than she could or someone else could, I could hear that and provide a fix or a solution far quicker than anyone else. And therefore, I should just jump in and provide it to her. This is not true. Autistic people, this is not true. Maybe sometimes, but no, it's not true. We don't have all the answers. We don't have all the solutions. We shouldn't just cut people off because we think we've got it based on algorithms of thought from prior conversations. I mean, that's actually what we think. That's actually what I think. So the critical thing here is my black and white, super logical way of viewing the world can actually have a detrimental effect on my wife in the respect that she actually thinks, because of that her opinion, that her thoughts don't count. Again, that is not true. But autistic people must acknowledge the effect that can have. The issue for me is I can't just turn off my brain. I can't turn off the way my brain views the world. I can't turn off the fact that an autistic brain has a stronger logical side than emotional side. I can't change that. It's who I am. I don't want to change that. I'm autistic. So some helpful hacks to cultivate healthier relationships with the people in your life around the topic of respecting differences. You have to be open to have conversations and discussions with your neurotypical partner with respect and generosity. Now, in saying that, that tells me I'm a horrible husband. If I have to tell myself I should be respectful and generous to my own wife, I'm a horrible husband, right? Do you see what I'm saying? This is why you can argue all you want that I'm not. I've just showed you how I am. As an autistic person, I can be distracted very easily. Okay, so minimize those distractions. You don't have to look them in the eye, but put the phone down, turn the TV off, sound, light, these kind of things, right? Again, this isn't a toxically positive video. This is real. Okay, so if you want to be in a relationship with a neurotypical person or anyone, you can't get your own way all the time because you're autistic. Now, for neurotypical partners, again, it's about understanding, respecting and being generous to the differences of your autistic partner. Just understanding that your autistic partner listens and processes information differently to you, that's critical. That can help you. They're not trying to attack you or fix everything because there's some sort of malice behind it. It's actually the way that their brain thinks. It's a default way of processing information. My wife might be upset if I'm on my phone while she's talking to me, but she never once pulls me up if I'm not looking at her. She understands it goes both ways. The next reason that makes me think, as an autistic husband, I'm just horrible at being a husband, revolves around alone time. Without regular periods of alone time, whether autistic people just have that to decompress or they use that alone time to work on their special interests, their passions, without that ability to do that on a regular basis, on a routine, structured, regular basis, autistic people will struggle to function in a neurotypical world. We're already behind the 8 ball. So if you're a neurotypical partner, this is one of the things I know you understand, but I think we have to acknowledge that just because you're an adult and you have kids or you're getting older or whatever, that you should have grown out of this. This just isn't the case. And I say this in almost every video. I would argue it becomes more required given the demands in life increase, but your capacities haven't increased. Your capacities to deal with the extra demands haven't increased. They're still where they are. So it's even more tricky. Now, when I'm unintentionally, it's not malicious, when I'm, starved of the alone time that I need or require, I feel like I become just a pure failure of a husband, a pure failure of a dad. I find it harder to regulate myself. I find it harder to deal with all the different types of sensory stimulus, the sensory overload. They're much harder to overcome. It's clearly harder as well to mask, to camouflage your true autistic self, which I've said in other videos. I feel like to be a good dad, for the most part, you need to do that. And I think the sad thing about this, and one of the reasons why I think it makes me feel like just a horrible partner, is this alone time need, this necessity for this really constant, regular, structured alone time basically can give my wife or your partner the impression that we really want to have both. We want to be married, potentially have kids, and we also want the single life. That might work with a neurotypical guy, but I'm autistic. I'm not asking for the structured alone time so I can, I don't know, whatever neurotypical guys do with their time to avoid hanging out with their family. I do it because I'm autistic and I need to do it so I can function in this neurotypical world. All right, so some helpful hacks now to help you cultivate healthier relationships with the people in your life based around the topic of alone time. Obviously, what we've just talked about, you should try to allow your autistic partner regular periods of alone time. It obviously allows them time to recharge, to rebalance, but what that does is that not only improves their, as an autistic person's, ability to thrive in the world, but it also improves the well-being between you as a partnership in your relationship. It helps both parties. In saying that though, autistic people have to understand that neurotypical partners also require me time, alone time. Also, your autistic partner is probably more likely to become really passionate, super passionate, maybe obsessive about particular interests. We call them special interests. And what can happen around that, whether you're a parent of an autistic kid or a partner of an autistic person, you can find that it's these special interests that kind of isolate you and the family from them. Because usually their special interests are by themselves, working on something or doing something themselves, or with people that aren't their family. And as a result, it isolates your partner and your family. I don't necessarily realize this, but I can acknowledge that what I'm doing right now is special passion and interest. You know, content creation, there's no one of my family in the room. They're downstairs with my wife playing and hanging out. I appreciate it and I thank her for allowing me to do that. So it's important to understand that autistic people, it can isolate and actually impact the mental health of your family. And it's important for neurotypical people to understand that that's not the intention and that's not the case. Don't take it personally. I promise you, it's not a personal thing. It's not about you. It's purely how the autistic person regulates themselves through their special interests. Another reason why I feel like a horrible husband, this sounds weird, right? Around the topic of lateness. Now, as an autistic person, you might already know this, you can be potentially a little bit of a stickler with regards to time. As autistic people, we rely on rituals and routine. We rely on carefully planned out days as a way of regulating ourselves and, I guess, thriving in a neurotypical world. So my wife leaving for work in the morning a bit late, or getting home from work in the afternoon a bit late, can throw my entire day into disarray. Same for activities. If my wife says a particular activity or a thing will take a certain amount of time and it doesn't, it takes 5-10 minutes longer, I feel a natural sense of anger. In other words, I'm disproportionately affected. In my experience as an autistic person, I can really struggle to understand time pressures and constraints concerning things that I'm not involved in. Does that make sense? If it's work and getting home or an activity that I'm not doing and you breach the time constraints, I struggle to understand it because I wasn't part of that. See, if I was part of it, it wouldn't matter. There was traffic, I could see it, there was an accident, or you needed to get extra ingredients or whatever, right? But if I'm not part of it, my brain struggles to understand it. And it's just like, well, what's wrong with you? You can't drive home? Why does it take so long? I can do it in 5 minutes. Why does it take you 10, right? You're not able to be processed properly if you're not actually involved in that particular activity or time constraint. So, some helpful hacks to help you cultivate healthier relationships with the people in your life around the topic of lateness. Be aware that your autistic partner may in fact get angry or react disproportionately to what would be expected if you're late home or if you take longer than expected in a particular activity. even by mere minutes. You could try agreeing on less rigid times and maybe use specific time frames instead. So 15 to 20 minutes, or between 5 and 5:30. If in working or doing an activity, you can foresee that you are going to be late or it is going to take longer. And you can see that and you know that. Update the plan. Soon as you know that because of blah reason, I am going to be late home from work, I should be home between 6 and 6:30. You know what? This salad is more complicated than I thought. It's probably going to take 15 to 20 minutes. It's an update and it absolutely helps. This reason why I think as an autistic person, I'm just a horrible husband is a big one, and it's friends. The topic of friends. It's occurred to me that since we met, my wife has slowly lost touch with her friends. Now, I think in life, this isn't uncommon. It's not unusual for friends to drop away, friends to move away, and new friends to come in. So I don't think it's unusual, but I certainly think it's something that lives in my brain. Like, since my wife met an autistic person, where have her friends gone? I feel like this is my fault. It's my fault. She met and married an autistic guy, and now where's all her friends? I feel it's my fault. It's absolutely my fault. So why would I think I'm anything but a bloody horrible husband? As an autistic person, and certainly for me, I prefer alone time over the company of others. Social settings, I mean, they can cause increased levels of anxiety, certainly stress. Massive stress and anxiety. It just is a kind of a natural setting in my brain. I'm not usually interested in meeting or making friends. I seem to find them or collect them along the way through doing things, right? So they kind of come to me through some sort of mutual connection. That's a thing. People want to do that. They start the new year with trying to make new friends. Like that's, yeah, right. I'm trying to lose them. As an autistic person, my default preference is to avoid the company of others, avoid social gatherings. Whereas my wife, a neurotypical person, has a default preference of looking for socializing, looking for the opportunity to meet people, to connect, to socialize. And that makes sense. It's a standard neurotypical feeling. Listen up to these super important hacks to help cultivate healthier relationships with the people in your life around the subject of friends, autistic people. It's cool, man. You don't want friends, you don't like the socializing, it's stressful. That's okay, all good. It doesn't mean that you have to push that upon or allow that to happen to the neurotypical partner or people in your life. It's important to them. If they suggested some sort of social gathering, some sort of meet up or catch up or socializing situation, and your autistic brain automatically gives them nothing back but darkness and negativity, they're probably not going to do that because they've got the impression of you that that's horrible. You probably need to go about more like, well, it doesn't sound like something I'd be too comfortable doing, but I really think you should go. I'm happy to hang out with the kids, or I'm happy to not go. It doesn't bother me. I won't be offended. I think you should encouraging and enabling your neurotypical partner into those situations rather than just spewing out negativity based on your preferences, which we all do, I think is really important to consider. A neurotypical partner can come across sometimes as like a quasi support worker. Therefore, it's critical that the neurotypical person in your life has a good support network, a good body of friends, a circle they can rely on to debrief, talk, share, and discuss how their life's going. And for neurotypical partners, it's pretty simple. Just understand and accept that for your autistic partner, you're not going to be able to change them or make them or guilt them into doing the kind of social things or the outings that you want to do. It's one thing to encourage them and push them to do things with the family. I respect that. But you know what? If these are things you want to do, I think you should just do them. It's not like a divorce or a breakup. You're going to a barbecue or a party or a friend's house or a cafe. I mean, you're coming back, right? You are coming back. So just accept that and embrace that. You're different. Embrace your differences. Even if you didn't know your partner was autistic when you met them or married them, I guarantee it's them being autistic and what makes them them was the things you fell in love with anyway. Just didn't have a label on it. If hearing about why I'm such a horrible husband has connected with you in some way, please share it with your family and friends. My goal is to reach as many people as possible to improve the lives of the autistic community. So thank you so much for not only watching the video, but subscribing to my channel. And until my next video, I appreciate you watching and we'll talk soon.